Hey guys, it's Erica. In today's video, I wanted to do my labor and delivery story and my experience with that, so you guys can get an idea maybe what to expect when you're going to deliver, or just want to hear how my labor and delivery went. So let's get right on into the video. Alright, so well, my labor started not on its own. That's what I should start with. I actually had to be scheduled for an induction, and I was scheduled for the 24th of February, and I believe I went in at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that, so pretty early in the morning, and I went in. The nurse that I had was really nice, and the doctor that I had that morning was really nice as well. And they explained everything that was going to happen and how it was going to happen, which was so helpful. And they went through all of this paperwork stuff with me and asked me different things, and they really got to know who I was, and just overall really nice people when I went in there. But I was so nervous but so excited at the same time because I knew she wasn't going to come out on her own. There was no sign of her wanting to come out at any time soon, but we forced her out anyways. So when I went in, I obviously changed into the gown, and they had discussed how they were going to help me dilate and thin out my cervix. I was obviously going to get Pitocin to help my contractions along, but they weren't sure how to get me dilated. So they said you could either take this little pill that we put in you, and it like dissolves and helps you dilate, or there's this balloon that we could use, and the doctor that I had wanted to use the balloon. Weirdest experience. Very strange. I hope I never have to do that balloon thing again, but it's just a balloon like this that they put in you, and it has like a string that hangs out, which they tape to your thigh, but they put it in you like this, and then they like fill it with saline, and it gets bigger like that, and throughout the day, they like yank on the cord on the outside because it's rubber, and they yank on it, and once it like, if they tug on it gently and it pops out, then that means you're dilated to like 4 or 5 centimeters. So we were testing that out, and it is painful, so painful when they're yanking on it and it doesn't want to come out. But eventually, after maybe like 8 or 10 hours or something, it finally popped out on its own. So thank goodness for that. So after they put that in, maybe a few hours later, they started my Pitocin on a low dose, so that way that would help me with my contractions. And after they did the balloon, or maybe before, I'm not sure, they put in my IV. They tried to do it in my left hand because I'm obviously right-handed, so they tried to do it in my left. The nurse missed my vein, couldn't do it, so she tried it in my right hand, missed, couldn't do it in my right hand. So then she tried, I don't know if she retried my left hand again or just retried my right hand again, but she tried my right hand twice and she couldn't get it again. So she asked somebody else to come in, and they had to do it in my wrist, like right here on my wrist. And I mean, I'm okay with needles because I've been with, this is a whole nother story, but like with my cancer and everything, I have had a lot of needles, a lot of tests, a lot of pokes and prods, but hand IVs are no joke. They hurt. But finally they got it, and they started like the saline drip and my Pitocin at a low rate just so they could get my contractions and everything beginning and starting and whatnot. And after a while of that, maybe like 5 hours or something, my contractions started to get more intense, which was good, but not good for me, because they hurt. But I mean, I have a high pain tolerance, so it wasn't until like 4 or 5 centimeters that I really started to feel them and was so uncomfortable. But for the most part, I was okay. And I was playing cards with my mom, and she spilled my ice chips all over my cell phone, but thankfully my phone was okay. But she definitely kept me entertained and distracted from all the pain that was going on. But right around 5 centimeters, I was in so much pain, and I was like hanging onto the bedside railing, and I was crying, and my mom was crying, and I was yelling at her, telling her to stop crying, that she's not in pain, that I'm in pain, stop crying, you're making me more upset and more angry. And she was yelling at me because she was like, I'm crying because you're my daughter and I'm sad for you and I don't want you to go through this. And it was just making me more upset. So I finally asked the nurse, because she told me, you know, you might want to wait till you're farther along for the epidural so it doesn't wear off. And I was like, okay, but I can't, I can't handle it anymore. I'm like crying, and my contractions are like every minute and a half. And they actually had to slow down my Pitocin because they were coming so strong and so consistent, was too close together. So they had to slow down the Pitocin because I wasn't dilating fast enough to compensate for the contractions. So I finally asked for the epidural, and she said, all right, I'm getting them in. And before that, she gave me this pain reliever. I don't remember what it was called, but she put it in my IV, and let me tell you, that stuff worked. Even though it only worked for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, it was so nice. I wish the nurse said, I recommend that you lay back on the bed, because this makes you a little dizzy, a little lightheaded, loopy, And I was like, oh, I'll be fine, I've had stuff like that before, and I've had no problem with it. And she's like, okay, well, I really recommend that you lay down. And I was sitting up, and she gave it to me. I was like, whoa, like, this stuff is nice. And I was just like, yep, this is awesome, and just keep giving me more of this stuff. And I did have to lay back, though, because in the hospital, you obviously know they have those like whiteboards that say like the nurse is like, what's our plan today, medicines you're on. And I was like, Mom, the board's moving. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, the board is moving like credits, at the end of movies. I was like, it's moving like that. And she's like, no, it's not. I was like, oh yeah, it is. It's just scrolling like the credits at the end of movies. And she's like, that stuff must really be working. I was like, yes it is. I was like, it's pretty good. And the anesthesiologist came in then. And now I have seen TV shows, movies, and I know what an epidural is. It's a long needle that they stick in your back, and a little tiny cord comes out that injects the medicine into your spine so you go numb from the waist down. So I am like terrified of this, and I want it, but I don't want it. So I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, with my pillow, and I have the nurse on my left side and my mom's on my right side, and I'm hunched over this pillow, like terrified. And if I expect, if you tell me it's like the needle's coming, or you're going to do something to me, I'm going to jump or move out of the way, because I'm expecting it to happen. So I'm sitting here on the edge of the bed, and it's got to be at least 3 feet in the air too. And I'm expecting this huge needle to stab me in the back, and it's going to be painful. So I am bawling my eyes out like a little baby, and I look horrible at this point, and I'm just hysterical. And the nurse is like, you need to calm down, you need to relax. and the anesthesiologist is like, you need to relax. And my mom's over there trying to comfort me, and she's like, it's okay, it's not going to hurt that bad, they're going to do it during a contraction. And like I said, at this point my contractions were like every minute, minute and a half, and my contractions were painful. And the anesthesiologist was trying to put the needle in, and I'm like this, you know, and he's like, no, you need to relax and go like hunch over. And I was like, I can't, like, he's like, relax your shoulders. I'm like, you know, because I know it's going to happen. So he did it once and it didn't work. And I'm still crying because I'm in pain and I'm expecting you to stab me with this huge needle. And it just was a horrible situation. So he tried again and he still couldn't get it. And I was just like, can you just get it done? Like I'm in so much pain. And every time they tried to go do it, I was having a contraction. So I was like trying to, you know, move and move around and switch up my position because my contractions were so painful. So that didn't make the situation any better. So we tried a third time to get this epidural to, you know, get in the right spot. And it finally worked. And my pain was relieved within like 5 minutes of doing that. But my legs went numb and I didn't feel my contractions. But after 3 hours, I took a 3-hour nap, and after those 3 hours, the pain right back up to where it was, like an 8.5, 9, probably a 10 at some points. So the epidural like wore off, and I called in the nurse and I was like, okay, I'm in pain again, my legs are numb, but I can still feel all of the contractions in my lower abdomen, like my pelvis area, and, you know, down where you push out your kid, like, you know, I could feel all of that except in my legs. My legs were numb. And she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna, you know, you can push this button here and it'll put more of the epidural medicine, and it should relieve your pain. You can do it every 15 minutes. Once the button lights up green, you can push it. I was like, alright. So I'm pushing it, still no relief. It would relieve me for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and be done. And I couldn't push it for another 15 minutes. I was like, okay, after about like an hour, I'm like, this is not working. I need something else. And she was like, well, I paged the anesthesiologist, but he's in another delivery with a C-section. I'm like, great. Now I have to wait for this. So after the epidural kind of wore off after those 3 hours, a new doctor had come in, and she said that she wanted, like, this one I didn't like. She was loud and just kind of seemed pushy, and she said, I'm going to break your water so that way things progress even more. And she checked me and she's like, wait a minute, there's no water here. And previously I said I had to pee, and I peed and then I was like, wait a minute, I think I just peed again on the bed. And she's like, oh, because they couldn't let me out of the bed because I had the epidural. I was like, I think I just peed myself. I said, I'm really sorry, because she had just pulled like the bedpan away, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I just peed myself. And I'm guessing that was my water breaking. So yeah, my water had broken and we didn't even know. So after that, maybe like it was like 30-45 minutes after that nurse had left, the new nurse came in, and I called her and I was like, I feel like I need to poop like really badly. And she's like, okay, well, you don't have to, you're ready to push. And I was like, no, like, I need to poop and I need to do it now. And she's like, no, that just means that you need to push. And I was like, alright, then let's go, like, I feel like I need to do it now. And so she was getting me set up and everything, and I started pushing and stuff, and she had called the doctors in, and I was actually pushing while, like, I felt like I had to, and the doctor had turned her head away from me, and I pushed anyways, and she was like, oh, wait. And it was really funny, but within an hour, I pushed my daughter out, and before, like maybe 5 minutes before that, I told the nurse that, because I planned on doing like the, wow, I can't think of what that's called, but you know where like you hold the baby like on your chest, skin to skin. I was planning on doing that like as soon as she was born, like right away, and I was so exhausted, so tired, so shaky, so weak. I couldn't keep my eyes open long enough to even push. I had my eyes closed almost the whole time, and I was, once again, I was like 3 feet in the air, and I said, you know, I wanted to do this, but I do not feel comfortable holding my child in this state the way I am, because I don't want to drop her off the bed or lose the grip or something like that. I said, I would like to just hold her as soon as she comes out, and then can you just take her away, clean her up, weigh her, do whatever you need to do, and then when I feel comfortable, I will ask you to bring her back. Is that okay? She's like, oh yeah, that's fine. I totally understand. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, she was a really nice nurse as well. But yeah, after an hour, I pushed her out, and my first reaction as soon as I saw her was, oh my god, she looks just like me. But I was like, I can't name her Erica because that would be weird. So my mom went and dealt with her, and I kept screaming. I was like, Mom, come over here. And she's like, what? I'm trying to take pictures of her. I was like, fine, just hurry up. Because I wanted my mom there with me because I had to get stitches because I tore. And I asked the doctor, I said, did I tear? She's like, yeah. I was like, a lot? She's like, no, just like the normal new mom tear. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, nothing to be worried about. And so I wanted my mom over there for that with me, but then I wanted her to take pictures of my daughter, and I was like, oh, it's a struggle. But they stitched me up and cleaned me off and everything, and as they're doing that, they had poked me with the needle to sew me up, and I was like, ow, and they're like, oh, you felt that? I was like, yeah, I felt that. Duh, you just stabbed me with a needle, and I told you that the epidural didn't work. So the nurse hit the epidural button again, like that 15-minute button, and I was like, I can still feel that. She's like, okay, well, she pushed it, and I didn't realize it until a little later, and they had put me down. They lost a cloth. They thought it was in me, which they checked, and I was like, I just gave birth, but you're checking me, and I was like, that hurts. Like, it was like a hot mess, but whatever. Thankfully, the cloth, though, was not in me, so that's the good news on that. So I got to hold my daughter, and they were like, okay, we're going to transfer you to a room. We have one for you. I was like, oh, okay. And they said, you know, can you get up out of the bed, you know, maybe go to the bathroom and then sit in the wheelchair. I was like, okay. You know, I just had an epidural, and this was like 30 minutes after this nurse, I guess, had given me, you know, the 15-minute shot. I was like, all right, not knowing that she had given me that shot. And she's like, oh yeah, I just gave her another shot of epidural, so that might be why she can't feel her legs. So they waited like another 15-20 minutes to see if it would wear off. I was like, I still can't feel my legs. And they're like, well, that's really odd. Like, it's been about 30 minutes. You should be able to feel your legs by now. And I was like, but I can't. They're like, okay, well, we'll just wait a little bit longer. And I was like, all right. So we waited another 15-20 minutes. Still couldn't feel my legs. So the nurse had called in somebody else to help her lift me up out of the bed. Well, if you have ever had, you know, your legs numb, or the epidural, or anywhere where you couldn't feel your legs and then you tried to get up, well, your legs feel like 500 pounds and you can't lift your body up. You just physically cannot lift your body up. And not to mention, I just had a baby, you know, like, come on now. So I tried to stand up out of the bed, couldn't do it. Nurses had to pretty much lift me, and I moved my feet like small steps. sat in the wheelchair. She wheeled me to the room. My mom pushed my daughter in the bassinet. Get to the room, and the nurse is like, all right, now let's try and get you to the bed. So they're both trying to lift me up. This nurse and a new nurse tried to lift me up to get to the bed, and I was like, I can't do it. She's like, what do you mean you can't do it? I was like, I cannot get out of this chair. And I was trying. Like, I was using all of the force that I had to get up out of that chair and get to the bed, and I couldn't do it. And she's like, but you just did it. And I was like, I know I just did it, and I'm telling you I can't right now. And she's like, well, if you did it there, why can't you do it now? I don't know why I can't do it now. Like, hello, if I knew, I'd fix the problem. So the new nurse had to, like, you know, like, bear hug me and physically lift my whole body up into the bed because I couldn't do any of it. So this other nurse picked up all of my body weight and stuck me in that bed, which I felt so bad for, but I was like, I don't know why I can't feel my legs. And after maybe like 2 hours, I could feel almost my entire right leg. But my left leg, I could feel the bottom half, but I could not feel the top half. So I couldn't feel my right thigh, like the top part of my right thigh at all. It was still super numb, and that didn't go away until like the next morning. I could finally feel my entire right leg. And if it wouldn't have fixed itself, then the doctors would have been really concerned about what had happened with my epidural. But it was really strange that only the top part of my right leg wouldn't, like, come back to have feeling. But after all of that, I could walk to the bathroom, I could walk around the room, put actual clothing on. I was enjoying being with my daughter, holding her. My sister had come. My mom was there with me in the hospital room the whole time. I was trying to breastfeed. We asked a lactation consultant to come in, which took forever. She came the last day that we were there. But she finally came in, didn't really help me with my problem. I finally gave my daughter a bath. And, I mean, it was good. There was one bad nurse that I had. She wouldn't give me formula for my child. Like, yes, I'm breastfeeding, but I don't produce enough milk. I still don't. But if I ask you for formula because my child is screaming because she is starving, because I don't have milk, then I expect you to give me what I asked you for. And she just kept telling me, like, no, the breast is the best, and she should have your breast milk, and she doesn't need formula. All she needs is that little tiny bit of colostrum, and she'll be fine. I was like, but I don't even have that yet. Like, I was like, I want the formula, and I want it now. And she was like, okay, well, fine, whatever. Like, rolling her eyes at me like I was a bad mom for giving my child formula. And she said, well, what kind do you want? And I told her, you know, I'll just try whatever. I don't care. You know, do Similac, which now we know doesn't work. But I was like, just give me that. It's fine. And she brought it back. And I had put, you know, mittens on Molly's hand, which is my daughter. I put mittens on her hands because their nails are really long, and she was scratching her face up. And the nurse, after she brought the formula in, said, all right, well, if you open this, it's only good for this long, and don't give her more than 15 milliliters. And I was like, why you tell me to stop feeding my child at a certain amount? But I was like, fine, I'm a new mom, I'll listen, you know, since I'm breastfeeding, maybe that's like the limit for feeding with breast milk. And she looked over and she had seen the mittens, and she ripped them off my kid's hand and said, we don't use mittens in here. We don't like using mittens in here because babies learn and develop with their hands. I was like, you did not just rip mittens off of my kid's hand and tell me that I can't use them. I mean, it's not your child, it's mine. Don't tell me how to parent my child just because I'm young. I was like, that is not okay. She was just, this is the way it needs to be. This is my opinion and you need to listen to it. And I was like, I didn't call her back very often. She just rubbed me the wrong way. But thankfully when I was being discharged, I had a new nurse and she was fabulous, and she called the transport people to take me down to the car so we can go home. And the whole way down to the car, she's like, "Oh, is this your first?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, she's so cute. But don't wait too long to have another one." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Do you know how old I am? I'm not planning on having any more kids in the near future, maybe like 5 or 6 years down the road." And she's like, "But you want the siblings to be close together, like 2 years." And I was like, "What?" It's like, "No. Do you see a father here? No. Do I look like I'm like 25 where, another kid in 2 years when I'm 27 is okay? No. And I just had a baby like 2 days ago. I'm not planning another one right now. Like, I'm not popping them out like the Duggars. Come on." And she was just like, "But you want them to be close and, grow up together." And I'm thinking, yeah, me and my brother are like a little less than 2 years apart, and we're not close at all. So I'm okay with not having my children close together. Maybe they'll be, closer if they're not together. But she's just like trying to tell me to have more kids, and I'm like, oh, no. All the doctors are asking me about birth control and you're telling me to have kids in 2 years. I think I'm going to stick with the doctor with birth control. Yeah. I know this was a long video. My camera actually stopped twice during this video. So, pretty long. But I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my labor and delivery. It was pretty eventful. Told my mom she's going to have to be there for my next child. I said I'm just going to kick my husband or boyfriend out of the room. Me and my mom got this handled. But it was definitely an experience in itself, and everything's good now. And I'm enjoying being a mommy, and hopefully the video talking about my daughter and having her in the video will be up next after this. Hopefully I have to try and get her in the morning because that's when she's the happiest and the most smiley. So hopefully you guys will see that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.